Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of the World Stone Keep. We are about to dump all the information from the Diablo media event that I just attended on Wednesday. We got a ton of new information, some huge changes coming to Diablo, and some other possible huge changes. They're still working some stuff out, but hopefully you enjoy the show. With me on the show are Jordan, Ken, and Dan, so let's do some intros for everybody. Let's get a random question going. What thing are you most excited about to talk about this episode? Let's do that. So Jordan, what are you most excited about?
I am most excited about talking about the rune system, simply because of the vast gravity of what this can entail.
Yes.
Assuming that things work out. And, yeah.
It's good. I like little teasers. What about you, Dan?
I'm Dan, and I'm most excited to talk about the banner system because it's a little detail that a lot of people will overlook, and I like being the underdog. Also, the banner system is basically like having a multi-pronged E-peen.
Yes. There's also like a really cool feature that I totally dig that we'll get into later. What about you, Ken?
Holy crap, are you kidding me? Like, what? Okay. Like, for real. Okay, just for some background to those listening, I have no idea what they're going to talk about. Not a clue. Okay, so let me see. What am I most excited to talk about? How about freaking everything?
Wonderful. Alrighty. I'm most excited to talk about...
Ken is coming to us via satellite from the sticks.
That's right. He's actually on his cell phone. This is the first time Ken is on his cell phone, so we're going to see how that goes. Kind of a risky episode to try it out on, but that's what we do here. We take risks.
It's my only choice. There's no internet where I am.
I'm Joe, your host. I'm most excited, well, probably the most controversial topic, which is the first one we're going to get into, is what they're doing with the auction house. Or should I say two auction houses, because that's really what it's going to come down to. So, yes. We also have some new lore to dump on you coming out. One little tidbit was kind of shocking, and it has to do with King Leoric and his son, but we'll get into that later after all this amazing news we have to dump on you. So, let's get into it, because I'm freaking excited. Okay, so the biggest change, or like the most controversial, I think, is going to go two ways with a lot of people. Some people are going to be for it, some people are going to be against it, and other people won't care.
People are going to explode when they hear this. I can think of a couple people who will light themselves on fire.
Am I one of them?
I want to hear Ken explode right now. Tell him.
Am I one of them?
Okay, are you ready?
Explode.
Are you ready? They are bringing a real money trading system, real money auction house.
Go to hell. What? Go to hell. No, wait, what?
Yes.
Okay, what does that mean?
Actually, there are three auction houses in the game. There are three auction houses in the game.
Okay, wait. Okay, hold on. Let's go back. Let's talk. Okay, what are they?
We have the real money auction house. Well, you will be able to put items in the auction house for real world cash, and it will be, man, that's hard to say, real world cash. And it will be unique to...
Let's call it fat dollars.
Your currency zone. So if you're on the euro, you'll be in the euro auction house. You're on the US dollar, you'll be in the US dollar auction house. Yes. So you will be able to buy and sell items for real world money. You have two options of where your profits will go. You can either cash them out through a third party, and they're still in negotiations with said third party. They didn't have a name to drop, but I would assume something like PayPal, where you can, for a percentage, you can get your profits and cash them out right then, and then the other will go into your Blizzard account. And with that, you could pay your WoW subscription, you could buy WoW pets, that type of thing, or buy more items from the auction house. And so there's a little caveat here that Blizzard is going to make some money off this, but it's not their primary reason. Trust me on that. They're not even sure if they're going to make money off of it. They're pretty sure they won't lose money off of it, but I mean, money wasn't the motivating factor behind this. They just wanted to facilitate trade between players.
It was incredibly fascinating just when they expanded on what they were doing with that, how like they were very clear and very decisive about how it's not, they have actively built a system that removes the profit motive from their side of the equation, because they're just, so what it is they're just taking a flat rate off, like not even a rate, just a flat value off of every single transaction.
Right, there's two.
Rather than a percentage. So they have no incentive to, say, drive up the cost, like artificially inflate the cost of high value items, because whether it sells for $1 or $5,000, they're only going to get 10 cents.
Yep.
And
or
top
whatever
it
the
off,
fixed value.
Yeah,
is.
they haven't put the fixed value out. There's gonna be two ways. There's gonna be a listing fee to put an item up on the auction house, and that is to prevent, people putting up stupid potions and just flooding the auction house with useless garbage that nobody wants to buy. The spin-off on that is, well, you're saying, okay, so I have to actually invest money to be able to sell my stuff. Not true. They're also going to provide kind of like listing fee waivers each week, and they're going to do a certain amount. They haven't decided on the number yet, but they're going to give you a certain number of free listings each week. And say you sell an item, they're going to get a transaction fee. That just is to facilitate the trade, to make sure you get the item you bought and the seller gets their money.
I got the impression it was going to be a fairly sort of like, you could count it on two hands kind of number, 5 to 10 sort of thing, so that if you really didn't care and you stumbled into, epic sword of ultimate cutting, you don't have to defeat, you can just toss it up and there you go, you can do that without having to be like, oh crap, well, I might as well just whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And the side auction house, of course, to this other paradigm is actually just using in-game gold system.
That's right. They're going to have
just what you'd expect.
Well, what's the point of that? Why would I sell it for in-game gold when I could sell it for real money and then just buy other stuff with real money?
That was one of the points that was brought up.
Why would?
Yeah. And they wanted to be clear. They wanted to be clear they've never done this before. This is all brand new, so they're kind of winging it, and they want to see how it goes. But their opinion was it's probably not going to happen. Like both will be used. Because
the counterpoint to Ken's, and there are a lot of people with that mentality, well, why would I sell something for in-game gold when I could sell it for real-world cash?
Yep.
But from a buyer's side of things, well, why would I ever buy something for real-world money when I could potentially just get it for gold? So I think there's going to be a lot of fractioning within the community, within the market, and hopefully it won't. Ideally, there will be enough people in both that they will be both viable markets.
Now,
I'll tell you exactly why you wouldn't use in-game gold. It's because you're selling stuff for real-world money as too.
Well, but that's the thing. Maybe I'm not. Maybe.
Their kind of fixes for that is you're going to need gold in game. They think they have enough reasons for you to actually need in-game currency. They have quite a few things. One little feature was the enhancement gold seek, which you could take any special item you have and roll to enhance that feature for a certain amount of gold or materials or something like that. You can try and improve it until you eventually get to its perfect state. And on top of that,
another
crafting stuff and reworking jewels and all that stuff.
Right, the entire crafting system.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And another thing that
good.
they pointed out was that the community itself is eventually going to find kind of a middle ground where it's like, okay, well, this item, no one is going to pay cash for it, but someone's going to want it for their character,
right.
Like leveling sort of, not like good but not great items. It's like, well, I don't really want to just salvage it because it's a great leveling item, but no one's going to be willing to pay money for this. And so,
I don't see
so
the same train of thought. There's going to be items that'll only go for money, right? Maybe the best item or whatever, quote, the best bow in the game only sells for money. Well,
and that's sort of what I'm thinking might end up happening as well. Is that the moment someone gets epic sort of cutting, they're going to be like, oh well, I'm selling this for cash because people will pay money for this, and no one like so that maybe the best of the best items, they're just rarely, if ever, going to end up on the gold auction house.
See, that's what I think is cool about them giving you a certain amount of free listings each week is you have the potential to make money off of this, even if you never invest money in it. You know, like you could just by playing the game and finding an amazing item, you could throw it up on the auction house using your free listing, and if it sells, bam, you got some money to spend on some new gear.
And if you're that kind of person who's not terribly, if you're that kind of person who's not terribly interested in the money, the real money aspect of it, you know, maybe you just never get your thing linked up with the third party money handler, and so it just goes into your account, and there all of a sudden, hey, you've made some money off of this thing, and it's now just kind of sitting in your account. So now you are active, and you do have a little bit of, you know, capital that you can use to buy stuff with, because it's otherwise just sort of, you know, sitting there. You know, if you're not playing WoW, if you're not buying pets or anything, then it's just there.
Yep.
In your digital wallet.
I think they're trying to pull the world out of recession. I think that's what they're doing right here. They're jump-starting the economy.
Now, just to provide some full closure, the third auction house that I mentioned is a second gold-only auction house that is isolated to hardcore.
Well, I don't know if it'll be specifically just for hardcore players or if it's the gold one that works for everybody. But hardcore players definitely will not be allowed in the real money one, and that's to save players from themselves.
Correct.
That was a great.
Interesting.
The only other aspect you should keep in mind.
Go ahead, Jordan. You've been trying to speak for a while.
Go ahead, Jordan. Yeah.
If you think about the regular real world system in, you know, softcore, you have to understand that the exchange rate between money and gold is still interdependent upon the community itself. So if you're really smart about it, if you're really clever, you might actually make more money by trading into gold and then transferring the gold into money, depending on the rates that are going back and forth.
Yep.
So there are a lot of different angles that this could actually take over time, because everything is still completely player-driven. They were very specific to say this was not microtransaction-driven.
Correct.
And they have no part in the market other than these very small amounts that you can
I wonder if you can actually make a living off this.
That's what I was wondering too.
Someone's gonna try.
Someone will try. There's no doubt about it.
You know, it's like I'm short rent this month. I'm gonna go play Diablo 2. Let's go farm some bosses.
Well, Diablo 3.
And they said that too. They said
Diablo 3.
This could potentially be a draw for people who, you know, just like playing the auction house. He said there's people in WoW who that's all they do is they see if they can play the auction house, and so this could be a draw for those players too.
That's right.
And another thing they noted is you might be able to potentially sell characters on this, but they haven't quite figured if they want to do that yet, but probably, most likely.
Still up in the air.
Yeah.
A repeating theme throughout the presentation on the auction house was, we're not stupid, we know it's going to happen, we might as well facilitate it so that it's a cleaner, safer, nicer,
better experience,
more reliable experience for everyone involved. Right. Basically, hey, we know people are going to shoot up, so let's make heroin legal so that people are shooting out. You know, it's not just in the skeezy dumpster behind the TGI Fridays.
Let's make sure everybody has a clean needle.
Yeah, needle exchange program, basically.
I actually like the idea of selling characters over it. I foresee a lot of profit in my future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This may pay my way through college.
It will make it officially dropping out and playing video games will actually become a thing you can do and survive.
There's no plural in that. There's no video games. It's just Diablo. They're just video games. I
have nothing.
I won't need anything else.
Who does?
And I don't even.
You're right. They are trying to pull out the recession. They are trying to actuate all of the untapped labor of frat boys.
Like I don't even need to The best part is I don't even need to be good at the game. I just need a
Exactly.
time sink, and here's a level 60 wizard for $100. Right on.
Oh, I'm also selling a
Yeah.
bunch of gear
You
that
suck
I
too bad
farmed
to
up
get.
with that.
Yeah,
Now,
you
there is
suck
a
too
side
much
note.
to get to level 60. Well, here, I'll do it for you.
Yep.
There is a side note I'd like to throw into this, though.
Go ahead.
Uh, we know that you can rush characters. You can rush them through the content itself, but they did say specifically that as far as the way that it compared to Diablo 3 versus Diablo 2, if you rush someone to the end content, there is a heavier penalty for the amount of experience you gain with your friend killing everything.
Right. Yep.
Because you're not in the level range.
They put some experience blocks in there.
Good.
Right,
Good.
so if you were theoretically able to sell characters and do it this way, you would have to go through the legwork of doing it. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't actually have to be good at the game. You just sink time into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly, it is a time sink.
Time is money.
So, like, all those guys that are practicing StarCraft like 18 hours a day, and they're still not winning tournaments. Screw you. Spend those 18 hours playing Diablo. You will have accounts filled with characters.
Pump out
ready
a
to be
60 a day. What's your? I do a 60 a day.
60 a day. Yeah.
There will be a 10 character limit per account, but of course, selling a character frees that up if they allow that to happen.
Wait.
Yeah,
No, what? They reduced it drastically. Why?
I have no idea. That number could change, but right now it's 10 characters.
They said that they alluded to that being a slight hardware limitation that
Yeah, an infrastructure
they have
thing.
to consider what their infrastructure can handle.
And also keep in mind, all the shared stashes, all that, anytime you go to the auction house, in fact, it will automatically pull up your entire inventory, your entire shared stash, everything.
Yep.
So just a little
Now,
convenience tidbit.
This
there.
was something I found interesting about the shared stash is it's not your stash and your shared stash, it's just your shared stash.
And it is massive. I know you guys didn't see this. You guys just got the audio version of it, but when they showed it up on screen, there's like 4 or 5 tabs, and each one is just huge. A huge inventory.
It's awesome.
So it's a massive shared
Okay, hang
now,
on.
here's
This
the
is
thing. Is 10 characters all sharing a single stash. That is going to fill up.
Oh, yeah, probably, most likely. But I mean, if you're
No,
playing the auction
hang on,
house
let's
and selling
go back.
stuff, I mean, come on.
It's one big shared stash.
Yeah.
It's no lie. Oh, that's awesome. I like that.
Yeah.
That makes me
Oh,
so
yeah.
happy.
And when you buy an item, that's where it goes. It goes into your shared stash, so everybody can get access to it, no matter what
Right.
character you're on you when you buy it.
No more transferring, hassling, or any of that nonsense. All simplified and streamlined.
Sweet. Excellent.
You will be able to
Oh, that's so
also
good.
sell straight up gold for money on the auction house, which I see being very popular.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And let's see.
Whoa, really? So I don't even need to get items? I could just...
Yeah, you could just run around in a party collecting gold and be like, all right, who wants 10 grand? $1. It was funny when we were all like playtesting
You
the
pay
game.
now.
One of the dudes who was there, he found some, I don't even know if it was rare or whatnot, but something. And he goes to his buddy. He's like, hey, I just found spear of penetration, $5. He got a good laugh out of it.
Oh, another random tidbit here that was kind of funny in the audio was if you're playing through the beta, the auction house will be live, but it won't be the money transaction one because it's like, all
that
right, I
was
bought all this
hilarious.
stuff. Beta ends.
It's like, yeah, because we plan on wiping the beta characters, so...
But the gold auction house will be in the beta.
Right, that's
Cool.
pretty awesome.
Well, you know what? Well, then here, why don't you just, like, play the gold auction house, make a ton of gold, and then sell it all for real money?
Well, and it depends entirely on what the exchange ends up
Yeah,
being.
which will be
a
entirely
player-driven.
character-driven. Or player-driven, yeah.
But conceivably and definitely in phases, there will be points where that's extremely viable in the market.
Yep.
To have to wait for the right
I'll
timing.
make it
It's
viable.
like the stock market.
And so, two choices where you want your money to go. You will not be able to cash out money from your Blizzard account. So, when you sell an item, you will have to say, I want this to go to my Blizzard account, or I want to cash this out. So, you can't just like build up a massive Blizzard account and then cash it out. You actually have to do that when you sell.
Well, you know what I feel like doing? Building up my Blizzard account and then just never paying for one of their games again.
Never paying for
because
WoW.
It's just all on my account.
There you go.
Well,
Oh, wow,
and
who
yeah,
needs
because
WoW?
once
You
it's
got
in
this
your
for free.
wallet, well, this is the thing: is expansion packs and whatever. If you just let it build up,
Yeah.
I mean, just digitally purchase everything. Because I mean, if you can buy WoW pets with it, then why not buy Heart of the Swarm?
Yeah, they weren't going to say if, or they didn't say, I should say, that if they were going to allow you to buy games, but they did say WoW subscription and WoW pets. So I don't see why not. I mean, they're making money off of it. They get
It's money.
Yeah,
Money is
money is money. I have a feeling this is going to be a lot bigger than they're anticipating. It's going to be like their
Yeah.
anticipation for when they launched WoW. It's going to be like this over again for Diablo 3 auction.
I'm starting to feel that way too. Like the more we talk about it, the more I'm kind of getting the impression that it's like this is like, wow, we found a volcano. No, you found Yellowstone Park.
This sucker goes up, everything's gone.
I'm still bummed about 10 characters per account.
Yeah, that could
Because
change.
a long time ago, they were saying, it was going to be a lot, and I was getting like somewhere around like 50, you know?
I remember Jay saying
I
that.
think
Like-
I think originally they said somewhere between 10 and 50, didn't they?
Yeah, it was like 10 was the minimum, and now I'm hearing it's the max. Because, I don't know.
Well,
Like,
Two
10
of
WoW
each.
characters wasn't enough. I mean, if 10 WoW characters wasn't enough for me, what's this going to translate into Diablo?
Ken. With everything
selling.
else we have to talk about with like
There's
the rune system
there
and
is
everything,
more.
I mean, it's gonna take you a
Skill
while to
system?
get 10 good characters going. It's gonna get you a while to get 2 good characters going, let alone 10. So by the time you're ready for 10, they'll probably up the amount.
Who do you think you're talking to?
I'm sorry.
I mean, do you remember the whole thing about gems and upgrading them and how long that alone will take?
Wow.
It's
Gems
mind
are for little girls. Gems are for little girls.
The only
We've
thing.
barely scratched the surface of this.
Yes.
We've got to.
All right, let's go on.
We've got to move on.
Yeah. Oh, there's so much to talk about. All right, who's got the next topic? What are we doing?
DH resource.
PvP.
There's a quick one. PvP changes.
Demon Hunter
Oh,
resources.
Demon Hunter.
Demon Hunter resources.
Do Demon
All right.
Hunter. I want to hear it.
Okay, so in game, Demon Hunter has their orb. It's split down the middle into 2 sections, red and blue. One is hatred, the other is discipline. And offensive, I think, is more of hatred, and defensive spells are more disciplined. And
Hatred recharges very quickly.
yes.
Discipline slower.
Yes. Depending on what skills you use, because when I was playing the beta build they had for us, that's the character I actually beat the beta with, was the Demon Hunter. And I tend to favor skills that used more of the hatred. And so I found myself running out of hatred more often and having an excess amount of discipline. But, of course, I was only level, 6, so I didn't have all the skills unlocked. I was playing with very limited skills. Plus, I probably wasn't playing the Demon Hunter appropriately. I was just using my grenade skill because it demolished everything.
Nice.
It was so good.
With all the hypothetical skill back and forth, you could theoretically try to build something that is only hatred, for instance. But he said very specifically that there'd probably be no actual reason for that. You'd probably have at least one skill in discipline that you'd always want, like the one to increase attack power, and everybody likes attack power.
Yeah.
There's going
I'd
to be
imagine
juicy
Vault would
low-hanging
use
fruit.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah,
Vault,
I would imagine Vault would.
Vault does use discipline, and that's the one skill I was also using in conjunction with all the nades I was throwing out and special arrows.
Yeah.
And wow, some of the Demon Hunter spells they got going, oh man. Like rapid fire arrows, holy crap, dude. It's
It's cool,
like
eh?
a wave of red going out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have to say,
Did you get to use the strafe?
Strafe, no, that's one of the higher level spells, I believe. And but they did
Thought so.
demo it, and it was pretty cool looking, though kind of weird looking at the same time. Your character kind of turns like all black, and her arms go off in different directions, shooting arrows. And when you're near mobs, her arms will actually target the monsters. So it's as weird as it sounds, but I guess it looks cool.
Yeah.
The character I
I
had
just have
most
to
fun.
listen to it. Ah.
The character I had most fun playing was surprisingly the Witch Doctor. I was having
Awesome.
so much
Hey!
fun. I had my 3 Mongols out there, and then the Toad spell, summoning toads or whatever it's called, Plague of Toads. Plague of Toads,
Right. Mhm.
you're able to just spam that as much as you want because it doesn't use a lot of mana. Your mana actually regens faster than you can spam it, and you can just spam that as much as you want. So you can flood the screen with exploding toads.
So
It was
really is a
amazing.
plague of toads.
Yes, it really is.
Like it-
And it is freaking glorious. And every time he casts it, he yells out like one of his Witch Doctor enchantments. So it's just hilarious. Yeah. It's like, "Oomba!" And
Oh
just
man,
toads going
now I want to
everywhere.
now I want a toad build for PvP and like just troll people, just carpet the place in toads. Like that's your only goal.
It's
You're not
so
even
good.
aiming at people, just blanket of toads.
It was so fun. The guy I met from Curse, Donovan, he even said, he wasn't really looking forward to playing the Witch Doctor, but once he jumped on there and started using Plague of Toads, he was in. I was like, dude, me too.
That's funny.
It was so
Sold.
fun.
All right, PvP.
PvP.
Well, hang on.
What's up?
Did they mention anything about changing the colors of the orb, the resource?
No.
Because I don't like the idea of having 2 red orbs, but I'm
Um,
sure they will. They're probably just placeholder colors.
Maybe.
Did they look as finished as like arcane power and spirit?
I can't really remember. It kind of looked like fizzy soda water, from what I recall. It was like a darker shade of red, not like as red as your health orb, but
Oh,
So
okay.
more like a crimson.
yeah, it was pretty distinct.
Oh, okay. All right, never mind. Carry
It
on.
wasn't the same color. So yeah,
Okay.
PvP changes.
Cool.
I'm gonna have to
excited.
find
It is no longer. It is no longer arena.
That's right.
It is now team deathmatch.
Team deathmatch.
So
Okay, whatever.
So
Same
it
thing.
is time limit. No, because so arena is very much it is last man standing.
Yep.
It is quick, brutal, wipe out the entire team. If you're dead, you're dead. Team deathmatch is 3-second, 4-second respawn time
Exactly.
until you hit 5 minutes, and then team with the most kills gets the win.
Yep.
Now, the critical change in this, now, I just started recently PvPing again in WoW, and jumping back into that, I was reminded of something, which is that at the entrance level, when you're still getting placed, you're going to run into these matches against better teams, and it's extremely difficult to learn because you walk in, you get annihilated in seconds, and you just kind of sit there and go, you don't have the skills you need to read the map or to read the fight, and you just go, what happened? I have no clue. I ran into this in StarCraft 2 as well. I'd get annihilated, and even watching the replays, it's like I don't understand how I lost so quickly and efficiently. So the change from the arena style, from the last man standing style, to team deathmatch is to basically casual it up. It's to make it just more of a friendly skirmish type. Hey, let's jump in, have some fun, kill some peeps, and maybe get a win.
Yep.
And they said in the back and
I don't
forth of this
know.
that they were constantly learning what the other person was doing, so it would actually shift back and forth as opposed to being so lopsided.
Yeah, it was more of a tug
because
of
of
war.
that lack.
Yeah,
of
because if you're matched in skill, you have the time you need to figure out what's going on. I mean, there are still going to be times where you may end up so completely outmatched that you just get, farmed. But once you kind of
And when
get
that
into that
happens,
same
it's
skill,
me on the other end.
Nice.
Oh, I can't wait to see these videos you come out with.
Also note that there
Um,
currently is no plan on replay being implemented.
Right.
Since the PvP aspect isn't that supported, it's not the main focus, of course.
Right.
Diablo 3 will always be PvE oriented first. So if it does
Right.
come in, it'd probably be much, much later.
The reasoning behind that is they don't want to turn it into an esport or get people's hopes up that they will in any way support an esport, because bottom line, Diablo 3
It's
is
unbalanceable.
PvE. Yeah, and it would just take way too much time, money, and resources to even attempt to balance for esport PvP.
And this is a
That and
critical
it would
thing.
just
I
be
know a couple of
embarrassing.
people-
Have me win every.
A couple of the people asking questions didn't really seem to sort of grasp this. And what it is that if you put in the systems that are that facilitate an esport, there is the expectation that you will support
Exactly.
an esport.
Exactly.
And so they're kind of saying, you know what, replays like just using QuickTime Recorder or using Camtasia or any other screen cap software is going to do a good enough job for the people who really want to put up their PvP ownage stuff,
Right.
that they don't need to build in that functionality.
Right.
Because once they build it in, people are going to be like, hey, why are you not balancing for this? Why are why is barbarians dominating? Why is you got to fix this? Well, we're not an esport. Well, but
Wizard.
we've got all of this other stuff. So
Wizard.
yeah.
And
You meant to say wizard, not barbarian.
I started at the beginning of the alphabet.
And God, what was I gonna say? Thank you for getting me off track here. Something about PvP systems. But
I think
okay.
I have
no.
an idea of-
It's on the list. They said replays would be cool. We admit to that. It's on a list, but there's other stuff that takes higher priority that we want to figure out before we add a replay feature to PvP.
You know what? I was just
You're
gonna
too
say,
nice.
like, going back to the original, what you were saying. I like the team deathmatch, and not for the casualing it up part of it, but for the fact that it's actually more carnage faster. It'll feel deathmatch feels more like Diablo and less like anything else.
That's exactly what
so
they
it's
said.
like
Yeah,
die,
it won't have that kind of
just
game
get
roll
into it, kill more, kill more, kill more, kill more.
Exactly.
Go kill more, kill more, kill more, kill more, instead of, oh, I got annihilated 1 second into it, I'm going to sit here and wait because nobody can kill my wizard, so my allies have to sit there and wait until I kill everybody, and that can get.
That's exactly what they
It
said.
also
Yeah.
de-emphasizes.
No, I like that.
It de-emphasizes defensive builds, and man, we could do an entire show just on the implications of the PvP.
Oh, I
change.
know. I'm sure next week we're gonna have to do
Oh,
another
yeah.
show to re-talk about all this from the feedback and everything that we get. But anyway, yeah, that's another thing they said is as soon as they rolled out that new deathmatch system internally, everybody loved it. Everyone was for it. It just felt better. They weren't waiting there 30 seconds till, their other partner was done kiting everybody trying to stay alive, trying to pick one off, and it was just a better system overall.
Important side note too, they said they were actually experimenting with other modes for these PvP type systems, like even incorporating monsters.
Good.
And what they said was they hadn't found the right system. They really like the idea, and they're still going to play around with it. They just haven't found the one that felt Diablo yet.
Right. It's not an
So-
on-release thing that they
Cool.
have to have,
Cool.
but maybe in a patch later on or some such thing they'll have other PvP modes. And another little side note is a hardcore PvP. Jay Wilson is all for you PvP in hardcore, you die, that's it. That's like Jay Wilson's stance, but he understands that he's pretty much alone.
Best line of the.
He's pretty much alone in that mentality, and everyone else is kind of like, that really sucks, A lot of people who actually play hardcore
No way.
would like a PvP where they can do and not lose their character over. So,
His description
Well,
of the hardcore community was the best line of the entire presentation.
It was. I
What
actually
did
still
he
have
say?
it on my audio player.
we're not exactly allowed to say.
I don't know. Can we actually say it on here?
No, we can't. They were very specific about that.
You'll just have to wait for that, Ken.
Oh, you can't say
No,
what he said?
No, we can't. But it was gold.
No.
It was something
it
along the lines
that
of
It'll
or
get out.
he has,
Someone will
yeah,
someone
it will
will
get
mention
out,
it.
but he has a special fondness for hardcore PvPers in his heart.
That's right.
So with that, he absolutely wants a mode where in hardcore, if you fight to die, you fight to die. So he doesn't know if it'll be an area that you go to in the world or whatnot, but he wants that feature in the game. And so conversely, they may do a feature where you can PvP on hardcore and not lose your character. So they could have both implemented into the game.
It's a possibility.
Yep. Which brings us to, why would I want a PvP? Maybe I don't like PvPing. Well, you get these cool little things called banners, where you get to show off your achievements, show off your PvP status,
Yes.
and maybe even show off if your character's hardcore or not. So, they implemented these freaking sweet banners, which are very representational of your characters, and pretty customizable? Is that right?
Mhm.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
Customizable.
That works
yeah.
for me. I've had a few beers, excuse me. But anyway, you can customize the primary sigil, the accents, the pattern, and the color. And we have some screenshots of this, so if you're watching on YouTube, you'll actually be able to see this. And did I send you guys a screenshot of this or not? That's right. Top Crest is the PvP section.
Keep in mind, guys, that with this, we're not going to have avatars like we did in the previous. You'll actually see the person's banner. And in the center, you'll see the little emblem that'll actually let you know if they beat normal, nightmare, or hell, and all kinds of different information just from looking at this unique, customizable icon.
And so this was a running question that I've had over the last few months: is are they going to go with avatars? Are they going to go with profile pictures? Or are they going to go with something else? And it is something else. It's the banner will be your representative icon in chat channels, and it also has some functionality within game where people will see it and can use it to pull up your profile, pull up your character sheet, and various things like that. And so the really kind of cool thing about it is that it's sort of segmented into different areas. And so if there's an area that just grows based on PvP achievements, and then there's the PvE stuff, and so it really is like having a multi-pronged DPing.
And these will be very representational of your characters. There's also a very cool feature that they're adding. Let's say your buddy's already playing Diablo 3 and he's in game, and you want to play with him. So you join his game, and he's out there somewhere in the world. Let's say he's fighting a boss. Well, how do you get to him without him opening a TP or whatnot? His banner will actually show up next to the waypoint in town, and all you have to do is click on it, and you will be teleported to them.
Oh, nice.
Right next to him. Yeah, so
nice.
there's no more TP.
Extremely convenient.
And yeah, and also cool feature to note is, let's say you're playing in a game, your buddy wants to join. A little window will pop up. I'm not exactly sure how this will work, but there will be a way for it to say so-and-so wants to join your game. Allow or deny. Let's say you're feeling a bit antisocial. You can be like, no, I want to play it alone tonight. So you can deny them entering your game and carry on. Or you could say, sure, let him jump in. And then he can come at his leisure, click on your banner, and come right to you, wherever you are.
That sounds like BattleNet 2 feature.
This also... Yeah. This also brings me to a kind of a side note that we're going to get into as well, is that remember the whole system with followers?
Yes.
They said specifically that the followers weren't going to be in Nightmare and Hell mode effectively. And so they got all this feedback, and they kind of said, well, wait, people actually really want it. We have this weird split. 33% don't care, 33% really like the idea, 33% don't like it. So what do we do? Can we actually cater to the two polarizations that actually do care? And what they have decided to do is try to experiment with it. Can we make it to where a follower is useful in Nightmare and Hell for those that want it, and for those that don't, maybe they can have a passive or some kind of trait added on or subtracted to the other group so that it all equals out in power.
Right.
Because people will always take that extra boosted power if they feel like, it's there.
Right. And so
that's another one that's currently up.
Their way of doing it, and this isn't in the game yet, it's not for sure, it's just an idea that they like that they're going to try and implement if they can. And so in game, you get 6 active skills. It's like a little list. And then at the bottom of that list, you have 3 passive skills right next to each other. 3 slots for passive skills. And so they're saying there could be a passive skill for each class that will make your follower viable in Nightmare and Hell, and at the cost of a passive skill. So people who don't want that power
Sure.
shift don't have to take a follower. They can do just as well without a follower. And people who like followers, they can sacrifice a passive skill slot in exchange for their follower being viable in Nightmare and Hell, which I'm all for because I dig followers.
I like how he
ahead,
mentioned
Dan.
something that we had actually said on the show, which was the whole notion that it's like, oh, you say we can't use them in Nightmare and Hell? Challenge accepted.
Yeah. He said that was one of his
That was
favorite
nice.
favorite bits of feedback that he got on it.
Yeah, that was pretty
Challenge accepted.
Jay Wilson's such a cool dude, I have to say. He's an awesome dude.
Yeah, see,
Yeah,
he
the
thinks
only
like me
other
when
thing
you guys
that,
are like, it's gonna take you forever to have 10 characters.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted.
But on the subject of followers, I actually got to play with one of them in the beta, and it was Cormac, the what is he, Templar. And the way you run into him is he's like stuck. He's got a bunch of dudes trying to turn him into a demon or some such thing, and then you kill all the dudes around him, and he's like, "Oh, thanks for saving me. Now I got to go run off and try and figure out what's going on over here." And you're like, "Wait, I'm on the same mission. Why don't you team up with me?" He's like, "Well, I guess you've earned my trust. I'll do it." And you can either have him follow you around or send him back to town. And I accidentally sent him back to town, which I guess was a good thing. So when I got back to town, I ran over there and checked out his stats and everything like that, and his skills. And I think you have to be in town to actually be able to like put armor and stuff on him. Wait, were you even able to? I don't remember. Or like check out his stats or whatnot.
Oh, I mean, he's just from the information we got previously. I don't know how it is in beta, but he's supposed to have just a couple slots.
Yeah,
He has the unique item slot, a weapon slot, and an armor slot.
yeah.
I believe.
And I think you have to be in town to mess around with those, though I could be wrong on that.
Okay, it's very cool.
And 3 little features they added. Well, I guess they're not features. They're items, permanent items on your character. You open up your inventory. You have all your all your gear slots. So your helm, your armor, your swords or staves, whatever. And then next to that, on the left, you have 3 little slots. One for the Stone of Recall, which that will be your town portal. And you can use it as much as you want. It has a casting time on it, so you cannot use it in combat. Believe me, I tried. And once you use the Stone of Recall, you're teleported to town, and a town portal opens up to where you used it. So it works just like a TP with a casting time.
Right. The Cauldron of Jordan is actually so you can sell items from anywhere in the game. And the cool thing about it is they said even the buyback function works. So you could sell something randomly out in the fighting monsters,
Be like, oh
and then
crap!
come back to town and buy it back from a merchant somewhere.
That's
because
right.
it links up.
Yep.
And then of course lastly the Nephilim cube.
Which we all know about is the destruction thing, item destroyer, which breaks it down into materials that you can then use for blacksmithing, stuff like
the
that.
original quote-unquote Herogic trash compactor.
Yes. Which I threw some rings in there, and I actually got some gems out of. I didn't know that would happen, so yeah, it was cool. So those 3 will be very useful and keep you in the fight and away from town, unless it's absolutely necessary, which was frickin' rad, I have to say. And
like it.
another thing that I am all for is the auto stats. And here's another big thing. They have done away with skill points.
Okay.
Which
Yeah, I know,
What?
Ken.
I know your initial reaction, which I'm sure is the same reaction from a lot of people. But hear us out on this. They had some good reasons for doing this. And the main reason is customization. It really sucks when you have to choose through a certain amount of skills and can't really experiment with everything before you decide. With this new system, every skill unlocks at a certain level. So once you've unlocked them all, you'll be able to hot switch through any one of them that you want to, and they will scale with level. So whenever you level up, your spells will automatically become more powerful. And they really focus on ruins taking the place of skill points. So you're going to be able to play around with whatever skills you want, whatever runes you want to determine what build you actually want, rather than investing some skill points in here, finding out you didn't really like that, and then having to respec. So it just gets rid of all that and really gives you an opportunity to say, I want to turn this into a battle mage, which is like the example they used in the presentation. And the runes, okay, I'm going to give you one example here. One of the spells was like Arcane Orb. You shoot out an Arcane Orb.
Yeah.
And that's not very good for a battle mage because, the idea of a battle mage is something that can absorb a lot of damage. You hit me, you're going to get hurt in return, and I can be up there in the fight. And so once you ruin it with a certain rune, I don't remember which one, but it takes that arcane orb, and when you cast it, it floats around your character in kind of like a little defensive ball. And so you're given this entire list of all these spells that maybe start off offensive, but then once you ruin them with different stuff, they become defensive. Times that by every character in the game, the different builds you're trying to go for, experimentation. I mean, if you try to add skill points to that, it just becomes a mess. So I'm all for this idea of letting runes become the heavier customization.
Completely eliminates the need for respecking altogether.
Exactly.
In that respect.
Yeah.
And there was two behaviors that they said that this counteracted. And the first was that they started to notice that people would hit a new tier of skill, or like they would unlock a new skill, and then they would immediately go and respec and just dump all their points into their new higher powered skill.
Yep.
So it's like, all right, well that kind of negated the entire point of it, of skill points in the first place. And the second was that they want people to feel like they can play the game and experiment with their character, and it's not like, oh crap, I'm level 5, all right, alt tab, what's my build?
Exactly.
Hey, internet, tell me what my build is.
Yeah, that's one thing they really wanted to banish was go into the internet for your builds. They really want you to figure out what works best for you, which
Through
is
your
really
experiences,
cool.
no less.
Yeah. And also, it keeps you playing the game. When I was leveling up in the beta, I would just be like, oh, hey, I got a new skill because I leveled up. So I would switch that out and go out immediately, test the new skill. I didn't have to think about, do I want to put a skill point in this or do I want to save it for a skill down the line? It was freaking awesome.
Now, this is also really important. The max cap of skills are no longer 7, it's 6. They said after playing around with it for quite a bit, you had to make very hard choices for whatever reason when you took off that one skill. 7, it kind of felt like you had everything in the bag. 6, you had to make those hard choices and really make the creation of the character compelling. So you can't have everything. How are you actually going to specialize?
That's right.
And this is kind of funny because the moment they mentioned that, I thought back to some forum threads where people were doing, speculative builds, and a lot of those speculative builds were saying something like, it was like, okay, I'm going to take this, this, and this. Like in the first 5 or 6 were like, they knew what they were going to have. And then it was just kind of like, and the 7th, maybe this or maybe this. Depends on, I don't know, whichever one I feel like or whichever one fits better. And so cutting that down to 6, then suddenly it's like, oh, well, those 2 that were just kind of floating point, well, suddenly it's like, well, what if I really want one of those? But I've got these other 6 that I thought I was solid on. So now instead of it just being 2 that you're kind of waffling on, it's 3 that you now need to trim and make a decision between. So yeah, it just raises that pressure.
And traits are out, obviously, since they've done away with
explain that.
Points. So you won't be pumping traits up with points. They turned into passive skills. So you have your 3 passive skill slots at the bottom on top of the active 6.
Right.
Okay, so you pick 3 passive skills instead of leveling up traits.
And you unlock a new skill every level, sometimes 2, I believe he said. So every time you level up, you'll be getting a new skill to try out and mess around with.
Right. I think what they said originally with the trait system was that when they originally played around with it, the trait system didn't really add any character definition to it. They wanted the traits to define something. Whereas when you had too many of those, it's kind of hard to do it. So they kind of boiled it all down into these passive abilities.
Well, how many passive abilities are there?
I have no idea. My original plan was to go into the beta and, because I was mic'd, I was just going to list every skill to myself and then read the description of what they did. But that would have chewed up all my gameplay time. So I was just like, screw that, man. I'm just going to jump in and play.
No. You know what? I honestly know how you feel because at BlizzCon, I was gonna do so many things, and I was like, no, you know what? I just want to freaking kill stuff.
Plus, they made the point of saying, these skills are subject to change. You can write them all down if you want to, but we're probably going to change most of them around. So there's really no point.
Right.
Whew. So yeah, there's some pretty big changes.
I don't know. There's things I like about it and things I'm hesitant about. I really like the idea that I can play around with all the skills, but after my first character of each class, that's really not necessary.
Ken, I'm about to blow your mind with the next section.
But
wait a sec. We got a little thing that we gotta add. The six skill slots and the 3 passive slots, they're not available all at once, so they unlock at certain levels. It's just one little thing I had to add.
True.
But go ahead.
Okay,
Okay. All right, you ready, Ken? You ready?
Sure, let's do this.
Wrap your mind around this. Instead of the traditional rune system, what they are playing with right now, and trying to figure out if they can make it work, and if it's better, it may go back to the way it, you currently think of it, but this is what they're going to do. Imagine finding, say, an indigo rune or, something like that. And the effects, instead of it being an indigo rune, it's blank. And you don't have any idea what it does until you put it into a skill.
It's
and now
just
all of a sudden,
level 2 rune.
Right. Now it does split missile for that, arcane blast you have. But it might also add a side stat that's randomized. So instead of having runes, very much so unlike a Diablo item, where they did exactly the same thing at every rank identically every time, they would actually have complete variability.
Yep, that's about how I felt when they explained it too. I gave these guys the audio to listen to, and they seemed to grasp it much better than I did. Because the first time he said that, I was like, wait, what now? What are you doing?
I'm wondering, and now one of the things that did stand out to me was that they mentioned a reason for changing it was because the rune system as it exists in our minds was very difficult to train new players in, especially not game-minded players. It was difficult to train them in it and really get across, like, okay, what do you have in your hands here? But when he was now trying to explain, oh yeah, and here's what we're planning on experimenting, I'm like, I'm a game-minded player, and I had to listen to that like 5 times in order to sort it out. I think you still have a train the player problem here.
Okay, so the reasoning behind trying out this new system, which they haven't implemented it yet, they're still developing it, and so they don't know if they're going to keep it and go back to the old method, which the old method, the reasoning that they're trying out this new system is because when you get, say, an indigo rune, and you look at it in your inventory, and you hover over it, it will give you this wall of text of what it will do to every active skill you have right now. So 6 different skills, it will give you just this wall of text saying, I do this to this skill, I do this to this skill, and that after time, getting different runes and changing out skills, it just got way too overwhelming. I mean, understandably so. So a way to combat that is giving you a blank rune. You have no idea what it does. You pop it into the skill. It then turns into a certain effect. Like, I split this now into 2 missiles.
And it only
now
works for that skill.
Exactly. That rune is now permanently, I split this skill into 2 missiles. That's all I do now. I don't do anything else.
I don't like that, and I'll tell you why. Because instead of there being certainty in with them, okay, so you have a wall of text to read, it's just a guessing game now. So instead of me actually knowing what I'm getting into and what I'm actually affecting, I'm now just guessing again.
Well, and now here's
the same way.
Here's the thing with it is once it's being put in, like once a blank rune has been, it will be something for the skill that you slot it into.
Sure. No, but now it's like, okay, when I read it and I'm like looking at it, I'm like, all right, I want to put an indigo rune into an arcane orb, and I read what it says. I'm like, no, you know what? That doesn't sound good. I don't want to do that. But it does sound good putting that into my Frost Nova, so let's do that. Now I'm guessing, and I put it in there, it's permanently attached, and I'm like, well, that's stupid. I don't like what it's doing. I don't like it splitting. I didn't want it to do that. That's dumb.
Yeah, and now one of the things that they did kind of try to placate with that was that rank 1 runes, which start cropping up in normal mode Act 2, are everywhere.
Right.
They're like candy. You'll be able to use them very easily.
Here's the thing, though. Like, the whole thing they were trying to counteract by giving us every skill, they're just repeating that with the runes now. So it's like, we're going to give everyone every skill so that they can, play around with all of them and see what works for them, and they like this, they don't like that, whatever. Now it's like, now there's still that same thing with putting the runes in. Oh, I don't like that. Well, okay. Well, why did I
Stuck
put
with this rune? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat you are. I don't really like this new system. I was very excited to play and experiment with the old system, and I think they could have better ways of combating that wall of text by saying you pick up the rune, you hover it over the skill, it'll tell you what it does. Or even just, picking up the rune and putting it in the skill and playing around and seeing what it does. I think that's a more fun way.
I agree. That's sort of where I'm leaning with it, is that it's a user interface problem and not necessarily a system design problem.
Yeah.
Now, the only other thing that really factors in here in my thought process is, say I take the random rune, I put it in, it now has a skill effect. I decide to take it out and then put it on the auction, and you imagine just the sheer variability of these things as items, as true Diablo items. You would instantly have this entire market for the super runes, the ones that have the best of the best effects with the random best of the best effects. And so it does create interesting dynamics, but is it for everyone? I'm not sure.
Oh, wait.
And to be very clear, they haven't even tried the system out in game yet. He said, he was very clear, it could fail horribly and be a terrible system that we hate, and in which case we'll just go back to the old one, which in my opinion, that's probably what's going to happen.
There comes a point where I tire of the randomization when it comes to the tedious little things. It's like, okay,
I agree.
I have an indigo rune that's 6%, and I want a 7 because 7% is the best. That just drove me nuts with the charms. I hated charms. I hated charms so much, and I don't want that to happen to my precious runes because they're so fun. At some point,
agree.
I want it to be like, I have a level 5 obsidian rune. This is the best rune. This is as good as it gets. I don't,
Kim's OCD kicking in.
But that's only for the little things with my weapons and armors. Yes, please don't, obviously keep those with like the randomization and okay, I have one that's 38% and I want one that's 40. I like that for my equipment. I don't like it for the little things.
Exactly.
Drives me nuts.
Equipment, don't hold back. Be rough with me.
Nice.
Yes.
Keep the rune system as it is, please.
It was a lot of fun in the BlizzCon build that I played. I liked it.
Oh, well, you're one of the lucky ones, because we did not get to play with runes at all in the beta, nor will it be in the beta that they roll out for public.
Oh, that's a bummer.
I know, totally sucks. That was one of the things I was excited about.
Well,
the player with runes.
The BlizzCon build I played, that was like kind of their headlining feature. Like every time I sat down, there was a Blizzard employee coming by, and he's like, "So make sure you test out the runes, and this is how you do it, and I'll show you exactly how to do it. Please play with them." And I'm like,
I think I understand why that is, and it's probably because I suspect that it's from internal testing. They're reasonably satisfied with the actual effects of the vast majority of the runes, and so they don't feel the need to test that, but there's so much flux in the implementation of that they just kind of want to keep it out of the beta and say, you know what, we'll spare you guys from having to go through 13 different versions of this system.
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
I mean, it seems pretty cut and dry to me. They said specifically that all of the major content in the game is done. It's finished. What they're doing now is tweaking all these things. And one of the major changes that can happen now is still with the rune system. That is the most, most evolving section of the game still.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. You just said the game is done and they're on the tweaking? Oh, yeah.
Yes. The full game is available with internal alpha. Full game. The rune system is the last major system to have tweaks.
No, I'm doing a push-up with a certain appendage of mine right now.
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yes. Okay.
It's your giant nose, right?
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Totally.
Oh man, where do we go from here?
Oh.
I have an idea, but it's not appropriate.
Well, the only thing that comes to mind that we really haven't covered is the lore aspect.
No, let's save that. We got some other little tidbits here. They played us an intro video and a class video, and they kind of went an interesting way with the in-game cinematics. And it's more of a pen and ink style on paper type of animation.
Nice.
I'm not sure how people are going to feel about this, but it was pretty dope. They played us the first half of the intro cinematic, and Diablo shows up at the end, and he's about to whoop some ass on some angels because angels and demons are warring through the entire cinematic, and it is freaking glorious.
It was
And then
so
Diablo shows up,
terrible
and
listening to that and not
cut
being
out.
able to see
No, I
it.
mean, it's
Oh, I bet.
like someone's punching something.
Yeah. And they also played us a Demon Hunter backstory character video, which they'll have one for each class.
Okay, now just to clarify on that, that's basically like, okay, you create a new character in WoW, it gives you this little flyby cinematic as explaining a bit about your race. Now that's in WoW. And so in Diablo 3, you create a new demon hunter and it gives you this little bit of backstory video before you actually take control of it? Is that what it is? Or are these sort of partitioned off in another area where it's like, hey, you want to learn more about this character? Watch this video.
No idea.
No idea. Okay.
I would assume the first point, but it could be either way. And also another thing I'm not sure on is whether it will be gender specific. So if they will in turn have a male and female video for each class, because the one they showed us was the male demon hunter. So I have no idea.
Yeah, and I noticed that as well, or I heard that as well. And so I kind of got the impression that, if it is going to be like, hey, you create a new character, then probably gender specific as well. Because he said, like, my sister is dead. I almost wanted to know, like, the first thing that I wanted to know was, does the female demon hunter say that her brother is dead?
Because female demon hunters can't have sisters.
But no, just the idea that it's like, okay, if you play the male demon hunter or the female demon hunter, like those two on the meta level, those two are like siblings, but when you play the game, you're like, you kill the other one by choosing to
Dark.
That's why they're so full of anger and hatred.
Another little side note, Diablo 3 will require an always-on internet connection.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
Which, if your internet drops for a short period of time, for whatever reason, you go to the login screen. Which they understand, some people may come up in arms about that, but it's a very small percentage.
Yeah.
And if you're without internet, you're screwed.
There's no playoff line.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I didn't know what they would do for that. No, I saw that coming. Who didn't?
They said the benefits far outweigh the negatives in that, and they understand it's like a real issue, and it's a small group of people, but it is real to them. But positives far outweigh the negatives on that. So
for the people that it doesn't affect, my recommendation to make that percentage of people smaller is to give up a couple of McDonald's meals a week, and then you can pay for the very small monthly price it costs to get high-speed internet and not have to worry about that.
There are areas where it's just not available.
Not available.
No,
yeah.
and I know, and that's why I said to make that percentage smaller, because there's always going to be those people who chose to live out in stupid places.
Where you can't play Diablo 3.
Now, I was a little surprised about that, because I thought they were originally they were still on track to go with the original, like, the ideal is the always online. We're going to make it a little bit difficult but not impossible to drop into a disconnected offline mode.
Right. Their main reasoning behind that is it's just easier for them to
not have to build
things.
that.
Yeah, not have to build that and one monitor things because, as we know, the problems with Diablo 2 and hacking and all that, it was just rampant in Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. So it's just an evolution of being able to monitor botting and people trying to modify their characters and that sort of thing.
He
Well,
correlated it to
see,
being
but
the Wild West.
yeah, but at the same
Diablo
time,
1
like
was the
I don't.
wildest.
Maybe this is just me, but I think other people are going to think this as well. Is I don't really see, not necessarily the problem, but if someone's playing offline in their own little sandbox and that has no way of even talking to the community connected part of the game, then
Yeah.
whether they're botting or hacking doesn't matter because they're playing alone forever. And I can guarantee it's only going to take maybe a month before someone has a private D3 server up and running.
Yeah. Yep. That wasn't like their main reason, but they really want to push like the social aspect of the game and get people who want to play single player playing with other people and giving them the option of saying, I mean, they're toying around with the idea of making invisible games to where you won't show up online or whatnot. You could just play by yourself if you want to. They said they don't really like that for various reasons that I won't go into because it doesn't really matter, bottom line. But their point being is, if you put all this time into a character that you're playing alone in private games that you deny everybody access to, and let's say you want to cross that threshold and venture out into playing with other people or putting something in the auction house and selling it, you can because you have that always-on connection and your character isn't just single player. So I don't know. People can feel however they want about that. It doesn't affect me in the least. So
I
think
did
we should move
feel.
on.
I felt a little good that Jay acknowledged he's when he said is like, yeah, I am one of those airplane people.
Oh,
because
that was Robert Pardo.
that was
I think his
Robert who
name's-
said it
yeah.
because one of the things that stood out to me, like when StarCraft 2 came out, I was traveling around Australia,
Mhm.
and so I ran into regioning problems, and I was frequently without internet for 7-8 days at a time. But I was stationary and like I had power. I could play StarCraft 2. So I don't know. Yeah, let's move on. I'll like write a blog post about it or something.
We could talk about it on the next show if people want us to. But will there be auction house / BattleNet for auction house for BattleNet or a web browser or smartphones? And if so, how will it work? Right now they don't have a system implemented, but with WoW Mobile or whatever it is, WoW.
Yeah, the Armory.
I don't know. Yeah, they have WoW available, so they probably will have a system implemented to where you can use the auction house for Diablo 3 on smartphones. That was a question. Nephilim Cube will not serve another purpose. I can tell you that from in-game experience. Update on TPs, gave you that. In-game bestiary. Okay, this is something cool to note. Will there be an in-game bestiary? These are community questions I'm going over. There will be, actually, and it's called the Journal, and it not only includes a bestiary, but it includes the lore audio files. So let's say you're venturing around the world, you meet a new character, he says something to you, or you pick up a journal of somebody's, they play the little audio clip right then and there. You didn't catch all of it because you were in fierce combat or whatever. You can go back to your journal, replay whatever you want. It'll all be listed
Excellent.
there. Quests will be listed in there. World, people, bestiary, and tutorials will all be listed in there.
Does
they have
it-
a bunch of features in there. It's very cool.
You know what they should have? They should have a
What?
list of all the ears that you've collected.
Nice.
Like, no
I wonder
joke.
if you could sell ears in the auction house.
Well,
$2 to sell your own ear.
You know what? It's actually cool. Like you in some first-person shooters, like I know for instance, Bad Company 2 does this. Every person that you've knifed, you have their medal, right? And it has their name on it. So it's always cool going through my giant file of like, yep, I stabbed you in the face. I stabbed you in the face. Stabbed you in the face.
This would be a great idea. You could take tattered pieces of someone's banner.
I love
No.
stats, so I'm not gonna say no.
I just want people's ears.
Well, I was just gonna say the ranking system as it stands will be completely hidden from the PvP site. In other words, they have this advanced matchmaking system for PvP, but you'll never be rated in such a way that, I'm 2200, you're 2100, haha, So,
Yeah.
you know, they also probably won't be doing, kill death ratios or anything like that. It'll be very casual. At most, they might show, the number of kills or wins or whatever, but that would be it.
Yeah. On top of that, there's going to be achievements rampant in the game.
Yeah, I'm
for
excited.
PvP and PvE. And for PvP, the higher, I don't know, more seasoned in battle, if you will, the cooler crest you get to adorn your banner, your customized character banner. So they're really pushing for this idea of progression in PvP, like you play more, you get cooler stuff or more achievements and stuff like that, and far less on the negative side of, oh, I've only won 3 games and lost 50, stuff like that.
I'm gonna make a new name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They said they found that with StarCraft 2, they just took the loss
Yeah, the losses
visibility out because people were just re-rolling accounts because they didn't want those losses attached to them and whatnot.
and that's only at the lower level.
Yeah, like personally, I would love people to see that I have won 24 1v1 matches in StarCraft 2. They don't need to know that I've lost 78.
That's right.
Yeah. Blizzard can keep track of that, and that's how they determine like matchmaking and all that. But they don't need to make it visible for the characters.
Cool. I like it.
So, what else was I going to say to that? I don't remember.
While you think of that, they also said that in the auction house system, they thought about it for a while and tried to figure out if there was any reason that you'd want to contact somebody you bought from, and they decided against it. Probably only for griefing purposes, everything ends up being anonymous in the end.
Yep. For good purposes. And so, to elaborate more on the auction house system, one of the things they were actually very proud of is their outstanding matchmaking system and how well they've gotten with it. So you will be put against characters around your similar level, your similar gear, your similar win-to-loss ratios. So you will be fighting fair fights all the time. And it's good for the people who are really good at PvP and the people who suck at PvP. It's just good for everybody because, if you're really good, you just don't want to be noob stomping all day by auto-assigned matches. You want to be put against people that'll give you a challenge.
That's right.
Well, see now, and then there's people like me who it's just noob stomping all day no matter what.
Oh, I think they have a different league for you, Ken.
I better. It'll be me versus my barb friend. That's it. It's just 1v1 the whole time. Now, did they say anything about like more than just 3v3? Like,
yes, they actually said they were experimenting with 4v4, and it may make it in actually.
Nothing less than that? No, like 1v1?
Oh yeah, that'll be there up to 3v3. So 1v1, 2v2, 3v3. They're just toying around with 4v4. Internally, they say it's going well, so they might end up implementing it, but they're still playing around with it.
They say anything about like being able to like actively challenge my friends to duels?
No.
Because
Are you talking about like in the world environment?
Well, like no, like in any way. It's like I want to curb stomp my friend. He thinks he can curb stomp me. Like, are we queuing at the arena at the same time and just hoping we get matched together? Or is it
I see what you're saying.
Let's fight. Let's see who could actually win between us.
Let's fight each other, right? I honestly have no
idea. They mentioned that they did want to have some way for hardcore characters to just figure out how, like, they want to absolutely have a way that hardcore characters can just go somewhere or do something and throw down. And they alluded to, even if that means just an area of the game world where you walk into it and you're PvP flagged. And so if they go with that for sort of handling the hardcore PvP question, then that would de facto
Undoubtedly transfer
answer the like, well, how do I just duel my friends question.
I'd say it'd just be really cool if, like, so for instance, you got your BattleNet interface, right? You've got your, search for games, search for PvP. If there was like a duel button, you click on it and it shows your friends list or whatever, people in your channel, and you can select one and duel, and it puts you into an arena or like a random arena, and you two just fight for like unranked,
basically
whatever.
like the war games in World of Warcraft at the moment, or
I have
dual
no idea what
challenging
that's.
to. Oh, I guess
neither,
that's a
but-
fairly new feature. So.
Oh well, bottom line is I'm pretty sure you'll be able to, but don't
Yeah.
quote me on that. It'll probably be in game.
Yeah, PvE is still going to be 4 players, and they said the reason wasn't any kind of technical limitation. It'd be easier to do that, in fact. But the fact was, it gets too chaotic after you start adding 5, 6 people. So the cap in PvE is still 4 players, and it's probably not going to change.
And I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Pulling things back to community asked questions that they wanted me to ask. Has any community feedback made it into D3? If so, can you give some examples? Jay was kind enough to give us 2. One we already touched on, which was people wanting to use followers in Nightmare in Hell. They're trying to work out a system so that they can do that. The other one was the game environment and, people's feedback on, it doesn't look Diablo enough. And one little solution they had that they really liked was that the team never thought of was the corpses fading out too fast. People thought, once you kill stuff, there should be a sign that an epic battle went down here. And fading out the corpses too fast just sucked. And so for infrastructure purposes is why they do that, for hardware purposes and all that. Because if they just let every corpse you ever kill in game, you're going to end up crashing the system and whatnot. So a way community feedback said, why not just put a limit on it, like 20 corpses that you just slain will show up in game, and anything beyond that will fade away. And so they put that in game, they tested it out, and it tested really well, and people liked it. So that's one community-driven feedback that made it into the game.
Yeah, both of those are excellent features, I would say.
And I have to attest to the Diablo feel while I was playing it. It was such a beautiful, scary, just awesome freaking world. I mean, as soon as I ran out of town, I saw 3 zombies feasting on a dead soldier corpse. They didn't notice me there until I ran up close enough, but off screen, like a little ways away from my character, they were just going to town on this corpse. And the cool thing is you can run around zombies and they'll get up from the corpse and start attacking you. But as soon as you get out of that radius, they'll go back and start feasting on the corpse again.
That's awesome.
It was so rad.
That's awesome. You can you can now join the club of people who laugh when people say that it's not turning out Diablo-like. You're just like, you just have no idea what you're talking about.
Oh, and the music and environment. I mean, as soon as you get up to New Tristram, you run into the game, you run down this path, you fight a couple zombies, and then there's soldiers with just corpses everywhere, blood strewn across these gates leading the way into Tristram. And you have to help them fight off an onslaught of zombies that are coming to try and break into Tristram. And it is just so cool. It's awesome.
You got to see Tristram.
Yeah, New Tristram and Old Tristram. I'll get into that, but more on the environment. They got like atmospheric fog. They got greenish lanterns swinging out in the environment that you run up on. They got these giant trees with hanging people, from the neck hanging out. And they also add on these like random little cellars or dungeons. Like I ran up on the tree in one game and I could click on the pit below the tree and go down in there. And there's like a bunch of zombies down there, drop some loot, whatnot. Another game I ran up on the same tree. That didn't happen, but there was cellars open that I could jump down into, and there'd be like special unique monsters in there.
It's awesome.
Yeah. It feels like Diablo, and it is such a beautiful game, and I can't wait to jump on and play with people that can share this experience because it was so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and as soon as you walk inside the gates after you fight the onslaught, they're like, oh, thanks for helping us out. Lower the gates so this champion can get in. As soon as you get in, they got a wheelbarrow of dead bodies that they're thrown on pits of fire so they can't reanimate. They got a soldier carrying bodies from it. They're like, and they're interacting with each other, saying, "Hey, burn more of those bodies so they can't come back and feast on our corpses or whatnot." And they got people in inns. Like when you first run into Leia, you run into this tavern, and you run up to talk to her, and she's like, "Oh wait, something's happening with those bodies over there." And then they turn into zombies, and you gotta fight them before you can talk to Leia and all that stuff. So they had some cool stuff in there. And I'm pretty sure the beta build that we played in game is not really the beta build that's going to be released for the public beta, because it was pretty short and limited. They said that it was the first half of Act 1 that we played, but we only played maybe like 2 areas. It was like Tristram, Old Tristram, and the Cathedral, up until when we fought King Leoric, up until you fight him, and then the beta ends. So yeah, I think Act 1 will actually be a lot longer than 2 of those, because it wasn't very long at all.
Ooh.
And I didn't do a lot of quests and stuff like that.
I have a question about the King Leoric fight. I want to know if it's the same as the one that I experienced in 2008. Was it like you came through his dungeon, right?
Yep.
Which was very much like the Wizard opening trailer. And then was his fight like he was sitting on his throne, and then there's like the 2 staircases going off to the left and right, and then like skeletons just kept piling up those staircases as he's like chasing around and chomping you with his giant sword?
Nope.
Oh,
Not at all.
Nice. Okay.
So I didn't run into his wife. When you get down into the lower levels, so the whole premise of the game is there's this fallen star, and it crashes it, which we'll get into later with the lore and all that. But there's this fallen star or falling fire that crashes into the cathedral and starts reanimating the dead. And within that, it reanimates King Leoric, his spirit, so he is able to cast evil deeds and whatnot and terrorize the people of Tristram. So you have to go to his crypt and retrieve his broken crown, and then during that quest, you actually have to find your blacksmith to repair it. So the artisan that will then become your blacksmith and craft stuff for you. There's like a little side quest where you have to help him kill his infected wife, because he can't just do it on his own. So it's a pretty heavy quest. And so you go help him kill his wife. He's like, "Oh, thanks. I will now help you out. It will give me something to do. I was getting bored doing nothing in my old age. This will give me a purpose in life, is to help you out." And so you give him the crown, he repairs it, and then you take it down into the dungeon, put it back on King Leoric's body so you can finally kill him. And you put it on him, he reanimates, you fight him. Kill him, beta ends. And that's what we played.
That's sweet. Did they mention when the beta was going to start at all?
No.
That'll probably be the August announcement.
Yeah, I made a point of asking Bashiok when it was going to start, and he's like, "We still don't know yet." I was like, "Soon, maybe?" He's like, "Yeah, we still don't know yet." I was like, "Thanks. All right, I'll accept that, but probably sometime soon." Whew.
I think we managed to cover most of it. I mean, there's some small details, but we got through that.
Yeah, we did. That was a lot of stuff. A few points that we missed. They wouldn't pick up from the audio. This is from watching the actual demo. A cool spell for the wizard is called Archon. It's one of the endgame skills, which just turns it into a machine of death, pretty much. And the more you kill while you're in this Archon state, the longer it lasts. So if you just beat the ever-living crap out of everything you see, which you will in the state, because seeing it was pretty much just tornado of death. You will have it. You'll be able to hold on to that state for a while. And similarly, the barbarian had one called Berserker, which he turns into this giant, like, hulking demon type thing that just rips stuff apart. It was beautiful to behold.
Oh, that's just... Okay, what was happening? Was it like lightning, or was it tornado? Like, was it just all sorts of crap coming out of her?
It's kind of hard to explain.
Did she change how she looked?
Yes, she did change how she looked. She turned into like this floating entity with like radiating archon energy or arcane energy, and she would just like float around and blast the crap out of everything.
See, I hope everyone who's listening understands that the wizard is the best class. Come on,
There's actually a little
come on.
point that Jay threw in there. He's like, okay, the wizard's mentality is that they're just better. Their whole thinking is mages and other magical entities in Sanctuary.
Sorcerer.
Yes, sorcerers look at wizards as kind of a dirty word or a derogatory word because they play with magic that, maybe shouldn't be messed around with, kind of darker stuff, maybe more
Forbidden.
Yeah, forbidden stuff. But the wizard's attitude is they're just better and, they can handle it because they're just extremely intelligent and just, not afraid, fearless, know their limits and whatnot.
Now you see why wizard is such a perfect class for me because I'm just better.
But you're so humble, Ken. I would never imagine
Well,
you would be.
See, here's the thing: is it pride when you're just stating a fact?
Nice.
Oh, man.
Is it like if Bill Gates was to get up and just say, "I am filthy rich"? Is that him being prideful? I don't think so. I don't.
If you guys are listening right now and wondering where Ken went, or no, not Ken, you're right here. If you're wondering where Dan went, my bad. If you're wondering where Dan went, he had like a little emergency he had to take care of. So we're pretty much going to throw in some little tidbits that we want to talk about really quickly, cover the lore section, and then close out the show. And anything we missed, we're going to cover when we do the B-roll footage audio when we record that, which will probably be tomorrow or the day after. So let's get back into the tidbits. Battle.net cross-game chat, and it will be more awesome than the WoW and StarCraft 2 features, so look forward to that. There will be no voice chat in Diablo 3, because if you've had an experience trying to use the voice chat in StarCraft 2 and or WoW, you understand why. They don't want to implement a broken system until they can do it right, so they don't see the point in using the system they have now, because they can do it better. It's just a matter of throwing some resources at it. But right now they're focusing on more important stuff than something a third-party software can take care of. So, yeah, no voice chat in Diablo 3. Let's see what else we got. D3 Online only, covered that.
Let's just go back to the Archon and spend a whole episode talking about that. What color was it?
Multicolored, mostly like purplish blue.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah, it was freaking cool looking. Don't need to worry about that.
Nice.
I'm done. I am done.
Only other Battle.net thing was that chat channels will actually be in the initial release, unlike StarCraft 2's initial release.
Yes. And more awesome. Better chat channels. Zombies in half, this is just another in-game thing. I would cut down a few zombies, and then they would come crawling after me.
Wasn't that awesome?
It was so cool.
You're just like, wait, didn't I just kill you?
The first time it happened, I was like, wait, what? What are you doing? I killed you.
It almost reminded me of the Black Knight from, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, totally.
He's
Monty
Python. Yeah. You know, he's got like no limbs, and I will bite your ankles or whatever. Come on, what are you gonna do? And they actually will. They'll hurt you. They'll claw at you if they get to you. I let one get to me once.
Nice.
There's also little demon babies. Have you seen those? Well, everyone has if you pay attention, but there's kind of these giant bloated starfishes that are sewn up bodies, and when you pop them, a bunch of worms pile out, and then like.
Oh, from the very first video.
Yeah, it'll be in the B-roll footage too, as will these little demon babies. But I ran into one of those, I popped them open, and demon babies popped out instead of little worms. And so there's these little demon babies running around attacking me. It was cool.
So awesome.
Now, by demon babies, do you mean like literally demon babies, or just small demons?
No, they look like little demon babies.
Do they have like little like cloth diapers on? And...
I think they were naked.
Oh, even better, naked
they got
demon
like
babies.
Giant over-proportioned heads and little horns that run around.
So are they trying to tap into the pedophile market?
I don't know if they actually had genitalia or if they were even naked at all, but it happened pretty quick.
That's awesome.
So I didn't stop to ponder on this.
Yeah.
They were trying to murder me.
Exactly. Elixirs, I found one elixir in game, and they're pretty much just temporary potions that boost certain stats for a period of time. The one I got generate 1 health, 1 life per second, 5 to defense, 5 to vitality, and it lasts for 300 seconds. And let's see what else we got. Tome of Training. These were actually pretty cool. You'll find these pages of training, and once you get 5, you'll be able to combine it into a tome. And then once you have a tome, you take that and some gold to your blacksmith, and he'll be able to learn new abilities, or conversely, jeweler or whatnot.
So that's how that works. So is it
Yeah.
one tome works for all the artisans, or is it like there's a blacksmithing tome?
No, I think it's universal tomes for everybody.
Good. I don't want to be carrying around 800 freaking unfinished pages of.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
Let's see what else we got. I ran into a mob that had an illusionist. He was a special mob, had minions around him. He was an illusionist, and he popped out little copies of himself. That pretty much what Bale does in Diablo 2, where he says, "My brothers will not have died in vain," or whatever, and he pops a copy of himself, just like that, except there was like 3 or 4 of them, and his minions do it too, so it gets pretty confusing. You got to attack the right one.
Nice.
Do the copies take damage at all? Like, can you kill the copies, or are they just nah, F you, buddy?
No, you can make light work of them. It's pretty easy to find the actual one, because I think the other ones stay stationary. And he does 2 for a second, and then the real one will start attacking you once you blast some stuff. Magic Quiver. I don't know if I found one. Yeah, I found a Magic Quiver, but cool. I wasn't playing on the Demon Hunter at the time. But it increases max discipline by 1. So Magic Quivers are out, though. They'll do various things for the Demon Hunter. There was a zoom feature. I pressed Z, and it zoomed in on my character.
That's awesome.
Not very much, but... yeah, it was in there.
Oh, cool.
You hear that, Ken? You can zoom in on the demon babies.
Oh, yeah!
Get an eyeful of demon genitalia.
Gotta angle this right. Stupid isometric view.
Start out with 2 skills, and then once you hit level 2, that's when you start unlocking fresh ones. But I think you start out with 2 slots, and then once you hit level 10, you'll unlock the 3rd slot.
So does that mean the beta you played, you started at level 1?
Yes.
Okay, did you play each class?
I did.
Do the classes start with a spell, or is it like this? I hate this, what they've done with the other ones. You start with a frickin' staff that has a frickin' +1 to some garbage piece of dick skill.
No, you start with 2 skills.
Oh, okay, that's what you just said. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I'm good at listening.
You start out with 2 skills, and then you level up pretty quickly, and then you get to play around with a new skill.
What did the wizard start with? Since that's the only class that actually matters.
Oh, crap.
Was Charged Bolt and Magic Missile?
I wish I could remember. I have it recorded on an audio file, but I didn't write it down for the show, so...
Okay. All right. Never mind.
I can let you in some other time. Let you know some other time.
That's fine. Yeah.
I was pretty much too excited to pay attention to what was really going on with the skills and all that. Nice. I was just playing the game for the first time. So
it's cool. It's cool. No, I understand.
100 Real ID friends, which they have implemented already with StarCraft 2. They said they just did that for infrastructure reasons. They intend on increasing that, but they don't know when yet. They have other things to work on before that. And with that said, it is time to break into some lore, which we got some interesting new tidbits with the lore of Diablo.
Yes, we did.
Excellent.
So, do you want to handle this, Jordan, or do you want me to handle it?
I'll take over the reins. If you find anything that I missed, feel free to chime in.
Alrighty.
All right, so far, we've heard about Adria. Adria was from Diablo 1 as a merchant, and she is actually dead. But before she passed on, she left her daughter, which is Leah. And so Deckard Cain actually ends up adopting Leah. And Leah's main role here is actually running around and tracking down and bringing back all of these relics to Deckard Cain. And Cain is really obsessed with this idea of the end times, of this whole thing of everything leading up to this point was really nothing. And this was it's all coming to the coup de grace, and so he's trying to track down every trace element of this that he can. And you see this pop up as a recurrent theme in other places, like the Wizard. You'd be interested to know this. The Wizard actually ends up delving into the archives, as it were, the forbidden archives within the school that she trains in. And within this, she finds these prophecies about the end times and believes herself to be part of that in a very, significant way. You can relate to that, right, Ken?
Yeah, well, I was just thinking, I'm like, well, obviously. I mean, you're not going to leave this in the hands of like a monk. What's he going to do? Throw a magic bell at them? Come on. Please.
Show what my magic bell will do. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, they have like all these little backstories for each character, and I wrote them out if you want me to read them real quick. The Barb, he's a pretty much hardened warrior built by many years of battle, is now searching the lands for a foe worthy of his blade. That's his own words. So, grizzled warrior, aged, getting ready for a real challenge in life, because up to this point, nothing's really challenged him. Witch Doctor is a master of the forces of life and death, banished from his tribe by its leaders. He follows the spirits from the unformed land, or the other side, searching for a greater truth they have promised to show him.
Corrupt leaders,
that's right, corrupt. The Wizard was a young child prodigy sent abroad to study magic at a young age, values knowledge above all, studies at the Ashari Sanctum, gets tired of the curriculum, is smarter than the instructors there, learns all they have to teach them and more. So they wander down into the forbidden part of the sanctum and finds the forbidden tomes, and inside there the prophecy, end of days, which Deckard Cain talks about over the course of the game. And with the prophecy, she decides her fate is now tied in with the prophecy of the fallen star in Tristram, so she goes off to seek that. And the monk is a holy righteous warrior from Ivgarod. Fighting evil is a way for him to worship his 1001 gods. Leaders of his society, the patriarchs, have given him the charge of deciphering what the fallen star means, and to them and their religion. So he's tasked with going to investigate the fallen star in Tristram. Demon Hunter, we all know her backstory, seeks vengeance on all demonic entities, seeks to eradicate the forces of the burning hells, and will use any means necessary to do so, even dark magic.
No matter what it is.
Yes.
Now,
okay.
What's up? Question?
The Wizard was definitely the coolest, but I'm not gonna lie, that Barbarian one was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole idea that, Tristram, like Diablo 1 and Diablo 2, like everything that happened in Diablo 2 is like...
That was nothing. Which pretty much is. Cain says the events of Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 will be nothing to what's coming. So we have a lot of awesomeness to look forward to.
That makes me giggle. Oh, Barbarian.
Yeah.
Cute.
Now, the only other major thing that was really told here is that, again, going back to King Leoric, you find out that the Dark Wanderer, who eventually turned into Diablo, wasn't a nameless warrior. He was actually King Leoric's eldest son.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, M. Night Shyamalan twist.
Yeah, I know, right? Which I'm not sure how people are going to feel about that.
Right. It's
could be a hot one for many people.
We'll have to wait and see, but already we can find quite a few theories are probably already crushed into the dust, like the Adria being Lilith speculation and et cetera.
Yeah. Their main reasoning behind making Leoric's son the Wanderer from Diablo 2 is because King Leoric's family and his story will have a pretty big part in shaping the events of Diablo 3, so they really wanted a way to kind of tie the story together, and that was the best way for them.
Right.
I like it. It adds a new dimension to Diablo 1.
I don't mind it at all.
I think it's good.
It makes me think that poor warrior, the poor guy, he just got owned hard.
Nice.
Lost his insane daddy, had to go kill him. Watched his little brother get like sacrificed on a pedestal by a insane man. Yeah. And then he went crazy and turned into to Diablo.
I like to keep it in the family.
Okay, Chris Metzen got up and gave this freaking killer lore presentation of pretty much catching everybody up. And so, as we're probably going to get some new listeners from this, I feel we need to include that because it was pretty awesome. So, let's start out and get at the Eternal Conflict, which is where everything starts out. Heaven and Hell are, we've touched on this in previous episodes from the books and whatnot. Jordan did a marvelous job with all this, but here's the condensed Cliff Notes version. Heaven and Hell are warring. This is a fictional world, not our world, not Earth. Sanctuary is very different. So, Heaven and Hell are warring. This eternal conflict. Some renegade angels and demons are tired of warring. They want a place where they can just kind of hang out and chill for the rest of their days, you know. Be hippies, pretty much, was Chris's words. So they take the World Stone, which is this giant, massive red crystal that can create worlds, destroy worlds, has all kinds of crazy properties to it. So they take this crystal and form Sanctuary, where they go and, you know, pretty much live like hippies, enjoying each other and commingling, and they eventually breed the Nephilim, which are very powerful, more powerful than any angel and any demon, which we've touched on. So they breed these Nephilim, and over the years, the Nephilim breed with each other, and their powers get lessened over the years until we end up with mortal men, as it were. And a pact is made to leave humans to their own devices, though they still try to influence them with strange religions and whatnot. They decide that humans should be left alone and they're not going to fight over Sanctuary. Well, all this gets turned on its head when 300 years ago from modern-day Tristram, which will be Diablo 3, Diablo, Baal, and Mephisto, the principal lords of hell, are overthrown and cast out to the mortal realm, Sanctuary. Archangel Tyrael forms the Horadrim to hunt down the three, and they succeed in this quest and trap them in shards of the World Stone, otherwise known as Soul Stones. So they're all buried out in 3 different areas of Sanctuary, Diablos under the quiet little town of Tristram. Well, being buried for such a long time, the World Stone, or the Soul Stone rather, actually cracks open and Diablo is released and starts wreaking havoc on this town of Tristram. And then the events of Diablo 1 happen. You know, warriors start showing up because there's a demonic present there. The people are crying out for help from all these nightmares that are showing up. And so warriors show up, take Diablo out. And then, you know where the story goes from there. We get into Diablo 2, the Dark Wanderer being King Loric's oldest son. The events of Diablo 2 happen. Baal is attempting to corrupt the World Stone so that he can take all the humans on Sanctuary and use the Soul Stone or the World Stone to awaken their powers and get this army of just unconquerable Nephilim to where he can overthrow heaven and the angels and all that. The events of Diablo 2 happen. We kill Baal, but he succeeds in corrupting the World Stone. So the only option Tyrael sees is to destroy this World Stone. So he does that, but there's a cool little spin Chris threw in there is nobody knows what happened to the World Stone. Did it even really get destroyed? Can you even destroy such a thing? And so we're thrown from there into the events of Diablo 3. 20 years pass. Cain believes they've vanquished 5 of the 7 prime evils of hell. And so there's still 2 left. Belial and Osmodon, that's right. And so Cain believes, as we touched on earlier in this episode, that the events of Diablo 1 and Diablo 2 are nothing compared to what is going to happen in Diablo 3. And that's kind of where he left us off.
And let the theory spiral out of control.
Yes.
Can you even destroy such a thing that can infinitely create new worlds?
Very
So
interesting.
many different possibilities.
Oh, so Diablo 4 is just going to be a new world that the World Stone
Yeah,
has created.
it's extremely possible. If you can't destroy the World Stone, I mean, we could end up with a million Diablo games. Infinite worlds.
As there should. See, here's the thing. If the Diablo franchise doesn't continue past 3 and its expansions, they dang well better come out with another action RPG.
Nice.
I'm just saying it. I'm just going there.
Throwing it out there.
Just
And
there.
we also know that they remade the cinematic of Tyrael destroying the World Stone because we see a little clip of that in the teaser trailer that they released.
Ooh.
So we could get more information from watching that video on what happens to the World Stone in Diablo 3.
Excellent.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
And so, starting out, the events of Diablo 3, Tristram is reborning to a thriving town. And how that happens is venturers from all over, gold seekers, treasure seekers, hear about the ruins of the cathedral and hear that there's all kinds of riches to be plumbed from the depths of the cathedral. And so people start showing up, and a good way to profit off them, these would-be heroes, is to sell stuff to them. And so Tristram is kind of able to get back on its feet and come into this little town. But lo and behold, here comes this falling star from the sky, crashes into the cathedral, the dead start walking the earth, and everything gets turned onto its head. Cain shows up, bringing prophecies of doom and whatnot, and that's pretty much where you enter the game.
Epic.
Yes. Yep. I think that's about all. Oh, how about that? Monk mantras. These are pretty much like paladin auras. They're little, I don't know how they're cast, but Monk casts them somehow. They're pretty much little auras that give like defense buffs or dodge buffs to you and your party members.
Right.
That's the only other tidbit I had.
And you can only have one up at a time. Is that right?
Correct. Yep. And I think that about covers it.
I believe so.
If we missed anything else, look forward to it in the B-roll footage video. We're going to do a breakdown of that. It's only about 7 minutes long, so it won't be nearly as long as this and the information dump we had for this one, but it'll still be a cool video to check out. We'll have it up as soon as we have this one up, so
Can't wait.
check that out. Check that one out if you so please, and check out our website or blog, if you will, theworldstonekeep.wordpress.com, because we're going to have everything from the press kit up there and probably in a downloadable package too. We got some really cool class crests, and we got some pretty dope screenshots, the B-roll footage, we got screenshots of the auction house and all that, and yeah, cool stuff like that. Little goodie bag, if you will.
Goody.
So, I guess it's time to say goodnight, gentlemen.
Oh, yes, definitely. Good night. I am tired.
Good night, all.
Quite the stuff to process. Hope you all enjoyed the show. Yeah, that's about it. Dan says goodbye, but he'll be with us when we do the B-roll video breakdown. So look forward to that. We'll see you all next time on the World Stone Keep.